Is the AI just creating too much noise so that nothing matters? Or do you think that AI can actually help you stand out in the crowded market?
There's billions of people in the world that run a business, and most haven't even.
What was the moment that you knew you had something special with Blaze?
Even with a disruptive technology like this that can change everything for your business, I think 90% of the people in the market.
What was the vision for Almanac and why are you so excited about its progress?
They say it takes years to become an overnight success, and that's certainly true. I mean, I've been working in and on startups for many, many years. And, with a startup, you kind of...
All right, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, dogs and cats, we've got Adam Nathan in the house. He's the founder of Blaze.AI, amongst other SaaS products. Blaze, this is really impressive, y'all. And I'm talking a lot about AI because it's completely changing the way the world works. It changes the way my marketing agency works. It's going to change your industry too. In fact, the World Economic Forum anticipates about 40% of jobs are displaced worldwide. So yeah, you might say it's a big deal. Adam's software, Blaze.ai, has hundreds of thousands of users. Let me repeat that. Hundreds of thousands of users. So we're going to talk about why it's so successful, why it's changing the game. This is a must listen to episode. Really, really glad to have you here with us today, Adam.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mark.
Brilliant. So Adam, I wanted to actually ask you about Almanac, which is another SaaS product that you founded and you're exiting here. But I'm just kind of curious, I don't want to go too deep into this because you're in the middle of the exit. I know you can't talk too much about it, but what was the vision for Almanac and why are you so excited about its progress?
Yeah, well, in general, Almanac and Blaze, I think, are both founded on a similar mission, which is to help people work better in the age of the internet. And Almanac was really a collaboration platform for distributed teams that were working across time zones and geographies. And we really rode the remote wave there. We started the company in late 2019. So essentially 6 months after we launched the product, COVID came around. And of course, everybody went from working in person to from their homes, like I am right now. And so everybody needed very quickly to figure out new ways of working, how to make decisions, how to share information, how to manage projects. And so, a very small number of teams have been doing that for a while, but most of us had no idea how to work. And Almanac is based on how engineers have collaborated for decades now using version control through a tool called GitHub. And so from the 80s, basically, engineers have been using GitHub to collaborate on code from different places. And so Almanac was a version of that, but for business professionals who work in documents instead of in code. And so we really rode the remote wave through 2020, 21, 22, got a bunch of the world's best remote teams to come onto Almanac, and basically to help them reduce meetings and save, I think, millions of hours at this point using the tool. And that was really exciting. But, remote work, I think, is more like climate change than a tsunami in terms of its disruptive potential. I think it'll take 2 or 3 decades for a whole generation of managers to retire before work becomes remote by default. I do think that is the future. That's what's going to happen. People in their 20s and 30s much prefer working remotely over going into an office for obvious reasons. But when we saw AI come along, that looked a lot more like a tsunami where it was just, massive amount of disruption in a very short period of time. You can, as you mentioned already, can see that in industries like marketing and sales and customer service. I think it will sweep, most industries before in the next 5 years. And change the way that a lot of work is done in so many aspects of life. And so with Almanac, we had built a document editor as the core of the product. Building document editors is about the hardest thing you can do in tech, besides like putting rockets on Mars. It doesn't sound hard, but it's actually really hard to build good collaboration software, good productivity software. So we had a foundation of code that we'd already used for Almanac, and we decided to basically build a second product to catch the wave around AI. And as you already mentioned, the growth we've seen in the last 15 months with Blaze is extraordinary. We went from 0 to 8 figures in revenue in about 15 months. We're growing 30, 40% month over month. But even more exciting is to see the impact it's had on our customers. With Almanac, we serve really large enterprises who had big distributed workforces. With Blaze, though, we serve teams of one. So small marketing agencies, entrepreneurs, small business owners, creators, freelancers, basically anyone you see on Main Street. We have life coaches, therapists, fitness trainers, lawyers, financial advisors, landscape companies. And we've helped them not just save time because now there's a tool that can do marketing for them, but also increase awareness, drive more conversions and leads, and most importantly for us, actually help them make more money.
What was the moment that you knew you had something special with Blaze?
We got traction from like basically day one. And so that was cool to see because that doesn't often happen in startup land. They say it takes years to become an overnight success. And that's certainly true. I mean, I've been working in and on startups for many, many years. With a startup, I compare it to like getting married where, you have to decide who you want to marry on the first date. You want to make sure that first date is like really freaking great and like 11 out of 10 off the charts. And the same thing is true with the startup. At the early days, you don't have a complete product. There's lots of things that aren't good. But you need to be solving such an underserved need with such strong and urgent demand that even if the rest of it is pretty bad, people so crave or need the key thing your product does that they will buy it, use it, complain about it. And you have that traction, that hype from the first moment. And so even before we launched Blaze, we had built a prototype of the product and we're showing it to, I probably talked to 1,000 customers over a couple of months. We had a landing page for a product we called Megan, kind of like the movie with the evil AI girl. But it was about kind of this marketing use case. And what we were really trying to figure out was who needs this product. And when we showed that early version of Blaze to enterprise professional marketing teams, a lot of them were interested in it, but it kind of felt like a nice to have. They were like, "Oh, I'll run this through legal and see if we can get like an R&D pilot for it," because professional marketers inherently have the skills they need to do their jobs. But when we showed it to what we call teams of one, these small business owners and entrepreneurs, they were like, "I need this right now. Like, can I get a version of it today? How much do you want?" And we saw that urgency and that fervor that I think drives really high growth in startups. And so that was the moment that we realized, oh, wow, there's this huge group of people. There's 200 million small businesses in the United States. It's the backbone of our economy here as well as around the world. All the products and services you and I probably buy every day are from small businesses, the people we serve. So it's a huge market and they have neither the time to do marketing nor the skills. They're often very good at lots of things, but marketing isn't one of them. But they know that in order to grow and survive, they need to do great marketing. And so we saw this huge need that was a must-have for their business that nobody was really adequately addressing, especially with AI. And, for a lot of our customers, our competition, their choice for a product besides Blaze is to do nothing at all. Like the alternative is what we call non-consumption. About a third of our customers don't have a website or don't have a blog, aren't doing any SEO, don't have really any social media accounts. Another third, I would say, have a Facebook account or a LinkedIn, but they're not posting consistently. They're posting photos of their kids or their dog or the American flag. Like they're not actually talking about their products. They admittedly aren't good at marketing, and so they're just kind of in this futile way, spinning their wheels all day long, trying to do stuff, but it's not working. And so Blaze basically creates a market where none existed before. Because you could set up a Facebook account before, but you didn't really know what to write there that would actively drive conversions. Or you could set up a blog before, but you didn't know what to write that would help you rank at the top of Google. Or you could build a website, but you don't know what exactly to write about your products that would drive sales. And so Blaze now is like having a virtual marketer on your team, like the very best agency or the very best person you could hire or the very best version of yourself, but it costs $35 a month. And it can do all of that work for you in a matter of minutes.
And by the way, I was personally touched by AI several years ago when I reduced like the time spent on blog writing and newsletter writing by 90%. It was just mind blowing, and things have come a long way. You've got APIs and integrations built into Blaze, which I think is interesting. But I do have a couple thoughts here, Nate, Adam, and I'd like to hear your feedback. So done is better than perfect. Totally agree. Because there's so many, like when you start getting into digital marketing, I got to do the blog, and I got to do the newsletter, I got a social media, and I've got this landing page, I got that landing page. And it's exasperating. And I think for a lot of small business owners, what happens is you get overwhelmed and you're just like, okay, I'm just not going to do anything like you said, right? The flip side, and this is, I think, where my agency comes in, is that AI tools make it very easy and efficient to create lots and lots of content. But what I found, and feel free to push back on this, I'd like to hear your pushback. I think that's important. But what I found is that it's created so much content that people start to tune it out. And this is kind of like where my agency comes in. We put finishing touches and B-roll and memes and extra music. We put extra sauce on top. right? Because I feel like that's an important component. And by the way, something is better than nothing. But when I'm going to be working with a small business owner, I need to be making $4,000 or $5,000 a month off that account. Most small, but what you're doing here is 35 a month. So it's maybe we're serving a different audience. But I'm kind of interested in your feedback on that, Adam. Is the AI just creating too much noise so that nothing matters, or do you think that AI can actually help you stand out in the crowded market?
Yeah, I mean, lots of thoughts there. Well, first, marketing agencies are actually our largest single segment. So we have agencies that have increased their revenue by 5, 10, 20x in the last year because they're able to serve a lot of clients a lot more efficiently than they were before. So yeah, we help individual business owners, and I'm sure we are displacing agencies for some of them, but we're also helping agencies themselves do a lot more business with the same amount of time. And core to our philosophy, if you've used Blaze, is that it's not just a chatbot. It's not like you're just talking back and forth with AI and you get an output and you're like, okay, take it or leave it. Core to our product is a document editor for long form text, and then a visual studio similar to Canva or Figma for visual and video content. And we think with AI, we can get you to 90% of a great post, but the last 10% actually comes down to you, the user, putting your own spin on it. And so that's why we really invested in real-time collaboration tools, productivity tools, where you can go in and change the colors or the fonts of the text to make it really feel exactly like what you want. The third thing I'd say is that we probably more than any other area of our product have invested in personalization features. I think that's why our product has grown so fast in the market. We call the suite of features Brand Kit, and how it works is that by giving us your website or integrating your social media account, we scan everything you've written, everything you've published. You can also integrate your Google Drive or your Notion account, so we can even read internal documents. If you're a new company, we can even use just a single piece of text if you have like a one-pager or a blurb you send via email. So you don't even need to have a lot of marketing already. But if you do, we scan everything you've written, everything you've published, and we pull out your brand voice, the types of images you use, the colors you have, your fonts, your logo, so that everything we generate looks and sounds like you. Because when we ask customers what high quality means, it actually is what you said. It has that human touch. And I think, really good AI output does not look like AI output. It actually looks and sounds like you. And, I talked to a customer last week who told me that they've been using Blaze to write emails to their husband. And our customer was like, my husband couldn't even figure out it was like me after a while. And I think, really, really great content generally, has that human touch. The last thing I'd say, and of course, there's lots of people who have the same kind of fear or anxiety that you expressed, that, there's so much content in the world. How's my stuff going to stand out? I think AI certainly will allow for more content to be created. It will raise the bar, and so it will push the curve out into the right. But just like any other technology that has done that, there still be people who are able to use that technology better and some people who totally ignore it or maim it. So I compare AI to GPS, where you remember back in the day, we always just like print out directions from A to B on paper and like look at them while you're trying to drive. And then now we have GPS on our phones. We can figure out, where great restaurants are anywhere in the world. But yet some people still can't figure out how to get from A to B, while other people are really amazing at becoming locals quickly in a new environment. And so I think with AI, it won't take your job, it won't take your customers, but a company that knows how to use AI through a tool like Blaze will take your customers, will take your market share. So it still comes down at the end of the day to you and how much you invest in learning the new technology and how to get the most out of it. We'll do a pretty good job getting you a first draft. Our goal is, as I mentioned, to get you 95% of the way there. But I think truly great marketing will still come from companies that invest in doing it the right way.
I mean, that aligns with what I've seen as well. You want to get about 85 to 90% of the way there. Then you have the expert come in, clean it up, touch it up, and go forward from there. And for anyone who's been listening regularly, understands or knows that my kind of stance on AI, it's going to make a beginner proficient, and it's going to make an expert efficient. So wherever you are, beginner to expert, you got to be using the tools. And I like the point too. Yeah, I mean, that's what it does. It's also, I think, a really important point that the market share, I think, starts to shrink up. The experts that are using AI well are going to start to take a lot of the business, because if you're a beginner or you're intermediate or an expert and you're not using tools, you're just not going to be able to compete at scale or with the efficiencies that that are there. I want to go a little bit deeper into this idea of the brand voice that you talked about, Adam, because you talked about it really briefly, but I think people don't really understand how powerful this is. You said that I integrate or I connect Blaze to my Facebook, my Instagram. Do you do YouTube? Does it integrate with YouTube also?
Yeah. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, along with Google Drive, Notion, your website, basically anywhere where you publish content, even your CMS, like your blog posts.
Wow. So I go in, I integrate with all these different platforms, and then it's going to read all the documents, the post, the mission statements, it's going to it's going to review all that and create a brand voice immediately is what you're telling me. Is that what you're telling me?
So brand voice is what you sound like. And so we actually analyze, I think, 7 different attributes of your brand voice. So things like your syntax, your audience, your purpose, your style, your tone. And then, at core to, again, our philosophy at Blaze is that we want you to feel control over the output. So we actually show all of our analysis where you can go in and change it, add stuff, remove stuff to make sure that it's correct. We also have brand styles, which is what you look like. So all of the visual content. So the types of photos you use, your colors, your fonts, your logos, so that any visual content that Blaze creates for you also has the vibe of your company. And you can actually create several brand kits in the tool. So for marketing agencies, for example, we see them creating a brand kit per customer so that all the content looks and sounds like each of those customers, not like Blaze or like the agency, kind of probably what people were doing manually before. We also see companies creating multiple brand voices for different product lines or different customer geographies or even different channels. Sometimes companies write differently on LinkedIn, for example, versus Instagram. So we have multiple brand voices is a really popular way we see companies moving up that advanced curve in the tool. But yeah, certainly I think it's the number one reason our customers retain or stay with Blaze is because the content is so high quality, and that really comes down to brand voice and brand styles and the personalization of the platform.
That's really cool. I think honestly, you sold me on giving this a try personally, Adam. I'm not just saying that because one of the first things that I do when I bring on a new client is I want to make sure that me, my team, my client all have the same vision over what we're going to sound like, what we're going to look like. Because if you don't get that right, there's a lot of back and forth. It takes a lot of time to get into the rhythm of actually writing, creating, generating content in that same voice. So if you're telling me I can, and I can also actually post directly to I can post to these platforms through the tool as well. Yes.
Yes. So it's both an AI tool, a document editor, and a CMS. And so that's really what's, I think, magical about it. Obviously, lots of companies or customers have 5 or 10 tools they're using for the full value chain of creating marketing. We think the full life cycle of marketing often starts with brainstorming ideas like, what should I write about? Then it's generating a draft, then it's editing and refining it, then it's posting it, and then it's analyzing it. And those 5 steps today are disconnected across tools. Sometimes they're not even getting done very well. And Blaze does all 5 of those things in one place. And so we can help you brainstorm. We obviously generate and help you edit posts. But the editing part is cool because even as an agency, you can invite someone into a document of content you've generated or already edited, have them edit along with you, just like Google Docs. We have a reviews feature where you can send out a document for review and someone can either approve it or send it back, mark it up with track changes. So very similar to using Microsoft Word or Google Docs. And then, we can schedule and post content for you and it looks like a calendar. So you can see, just like in a CMS, when stuff is going out across different platforms. And then we show you how it performed. And I think the coolest part about the tool is that we show you Netflix style, your top 10 posts, both posts Blaze is generated, but also posts that you've maybe written on your own off our platform. And we can generate more content like your best performing posts. And so it turns marketing from kind of a process into a virtuous cycle where after going through 1 or 2 rounds, you can start to generate more content that your users or your community already are engaging with. And that starts a virtuous cycle of growth that I think everyone's really looking for at the end of the day.
This is really cool. This is really cool, Adam, because that's an important part. It's not just about posting the content; it's about looking at the results, reviewing the data, and that can be tricky. It's not always simple to see that information when it's not laid out properly. It's also kind of frustrating because I've got to look at Instagram, I got to look at LinkedIn, I got to look at YouTube. But if you're bringing all that data into one place, and then if I'm hearing you correctly, Blaze.AI is actually learning from the post that we've already created. It's learning from its own success in creating further iterations along that line. Am I hearing you correct on that?
Yeah. And not even just posts we've created, also posts that you've created. I think what's true about marketing is that often what you think is good isn't what other people think is good. And that's true, in my own posting on LinkedIn and Twitter. Like sometimes I'll spend a lot of time on something and be like, oh, this is going to really go viral, and doesn't. And then I post a photo that I think is stupid and it gets a million impressions. And so, you need to post consistently. You need to post what you think is high quality, but it doesn't necessarily correlate to what works in the end. And so we look at everything you posted, both from Blaze and stuff on your own. And we, just use that data to inform what you should be posting next. And we have, my favorite feature in the whole product is a set of planning tools we built where you can generate and schedule and automatically post months worth of content. So you can ask Blaze to schedule a whole quarter of Instagram content, like your top posts, and we will generate 90 posts for you. You can pick the frequency. You can say, I want to post every day, every 3 days. You can pick the times, and it will generate all the posts, the visual content, the captions. It will automatically schedule it for you. So we have customers that log into Blaze once a quarter, set up all their posts, set it and forget it, and come back, again in January in the new year to do it again. But, that helps both. Just a lot of marketing is like boring work. It's repetitive, it's manual, it's mind numbing. And so, even if you hit a couple winners, it takes a lot of work to syndicate those across channels, to replicate them. And so a tool like Blaze can help take out all that busy work. And that's especially important for, our customers who are small, wearing 10 hats a day, paying bills, talking to customers, doing stuff around the store, and then have time to sit and, copy paste stuff from LinkedIn into Facebook or Facebook into Instagram. And so Blaze can really be that virtual marketer for you.
This is really, really cool, Adam. Really cool. I'm just kind of like processing all the different ways that it could save me time. Are we doing video editing in the platform as well? Or and you're shaking your head, yes, you do video editing in the app as well.
Yes. So we do, video is a huge, probably most of our 2025 will be focused on video because it is where, the present and future of marketing for sure. But we have TikTok and YouTube integrations. And so we've started with video shorts or kind of TikTok style videos. And so you can upload your own content, you can edit it in the tool, and you can schedule it. What we'll be getting into and launching pretty shortly are features where we generate video for you. So just with a single sentence, if you say, hey, I want a promo for this new podcast I just made with Adam, you can upload the video from our podcast that we're recording here, and Blaze will cut it up for you, put music behind it, pick the clips, write the caption, schedule and post it. So anything that you would hire maybe your video editor to do to advertise a podcast like this, Blaze will be able to do. And so that generation is what we're working on now. It's some of the coolest stuff I think we've worked on yet, just to see how much AI can do from you from a single sentence or a single source file like this. But already in the tool, you can use your own content, edit it, schedule, post it, analyze it.
It's really sick. Part of me is someone who's been doing media production for several years now, about half a decade. It's a little scary, right? It's a little scary because if I think this is the type of person I've been serving, now they can just get an AI tool and they'll be able to handle all their production. It's a little scary on one side of me. But it's also exciting at the same time. And frankly, I think that's where I want people to be. I feel like everyone needs to be thinking about how does this impact me? Because the people that you're serving now, I'll give you an example. I'm starting January, I'm starting the new year this year with less clients than I had last year. But the value of each client is from a financial standpoint is about quadruple. So where I was charging 1,000 before, I'm now charging 4K. And because I recognized, Adam, that the clients I was serving before were just using various AI tools to create, we'll call it 90% of what my agency was able to do, right? But now because if I'm going to create something truly great, it takes not just the AI tools, but manual handling. It takes that expert. So I go out, I hire the experts, I train the experts, I make sure that they're leveraging the newest tools. We have quality control features in place as well. So anyway, that's the way I've been kind of thinking about AI. The demographic I started serving, I'm not serving anymore. I've shifted.
I think that's right. I think, again, there's past is prologue. Like we've seen what happens before when we get new technologies that change the world. And, if you look back in the 50s after World War II, at the start of the computer age, there were, videos talking about how, work is over, no one's going to work anymore. And of course, some people are saying that today, but if you look at the data, more people are working more hours than ever. And so I think that prognostications of like the end of the world or the end of work are overstated, are plain wrong. I think two metaphors I use often are, to your point on the importance of human touch. If you look at the industrialization of food, in the 50s and 60s, well, there were warnings at the time that the world was going, we had huge concerns with overpopulation. Everyone was worried that we wouldn't have enough food to feed everyone. We basically scienced our way out of that by creating all sorts of processed, in a good way, foods that allow for lots of people to now eat very healthy, very safe food. You can go in the supermarket and find grocery vegetables from around the world and in season, and you can make pretty good food on your own. But what that's done is actually elevate, fine dining. In the 50s, no one was really talking about like local cuisine or, chef-driven meals or Michelin-starred restaurants. And today, people pay a lot of money and travel actually to go eat, fine, inspiring, authentic, imaginative foods, both locally and people fly to different continents for it. And so, yeah, I think the fact that as the quality and quantity of content goes up, it will actually increase the value of human-driven content that feels really creative in a way that only a human can do. Something that AI is reading basically what happened in the past, but it can't invent the future, at least not yet, not the way these models work. And so if you as a human are inventing the future, that would be, I think, even more valuable. And so yeah, I guess I'm not worried about people taking anyone's jobs. And the last thing I'd say is that I think it's good if people are a little anxious because, yeah, the world is changing. And I think AI as a technology is not going to take your job, but a human that knows how to use AI will. And I think a lot of folks think with content and marketing that, as I mentioned, it's like you have to have a brilliant idea and that if you build it, they will come. You just got to so you have to spend all this time on the kind of brainstorming or ideation part of the process. But a lot of marketing is actually very mechanical and very programmatic. And building a big business, making a lot of money from the internet is not about having a great idea. That's maybe 5% of it. 95% of it is getting out there consistently, making people aware of your products, putting ad dollars in the right places, engaging with people in comments. The internet is basically one big algorithm. And so it's actually not rocket science to make a lot of money from the internet. You just have to follow the steps. And I think AI can help a lot of people follow those steps because a lot of people don't know what the steps are. And so a tool like Blaze can do them for you automatically. You don't have to go learn it on your own or hire an expensive agency to do it. You can use a tool like Blaze. And yet a lot of people won't. Even though we have hundreds of thousands, we'll soon have millions of customers, there are still billions of people in the world that won't take advantage of the tools. And so I just think it's the most important thing is for people to just start exploring what is now possible with AI using a tool like Blaze, because you will already be ahead of the curve if you just use a product like Blaze and use it consistently or have it market for you consistently. Like you will already be better than 80% of the other entrepreneurs or small business owners out there. And yeah, I see that with our customers already. That I talked to a customer this morning that went from having no presence via SEO to now being number one on the first page of Google for they are a wedding photography company in Pennsylvania. And so now if you search wedding photographers Pittsburgh, they come out first. They have created 3,000 blog posts with Blaze. And, if you calculate the cost now, like per customer that they're getting from Blaze, it's like because Blaze is $35, it's like a couple cents per customer that, and that's pretty amazing, both the effectiveness of the tool and the efficiency. But, anybody could do that. Not like this customer isn't a genius. The content of the blog post content is basically just using combinations of, weddings, photographers, Pittsburgh. But a lot of people, I'm sure the other, hundreds of photographers in the Pittsburgh area are not writing as many posts, publishing as many posts. And so you don't have to be a genius or a rocket scientist to make more money from the internet. You just have to follow the steps. And I think Blaze will help a lot of people do that. And just by using this tool, or a tool like us, you'll be, ahead of 80-90% of the market.
I agree with a lot of what you've said, Adam. But here's the problem. If everyone can do it, it becomes irrelevant, right? If everyone is, and I'm not saying everyone will, but if everyone is making
the distinction.
If everyone's making thousands of blog posts, then they just don't even matter anymore. And actually, Google usage is down now. People are using tools like ChatGPT and Gemini to actually search the web in real time, which is pretty freaking sick, by the way. I won't go into that in this little monologue here. But the one thing I do agree with is that over time, it seems like people are very risk averse. And what I mean by risk is change. They don't want to change because it's too risky to change. But I think this is a special point in history, a special point in the timeline, because the riskiest thing you can do is not adjust and not change. Because I think I'm pessimistically optimistic. I think things are going to change really quickly. And AI is very different because it's not replacing or not taking blue collar, hard labor type of jobs. It's not a car or a train that's pulling. It's not doing. It's taking over intellectual work, writing, reading, reading and writing, which is fundamental. We've never seen a technology that can read and write like AI can do, and it's scary in a lot of ways, but I think very, very exciting. And the opportunities are going to be tremendous, as you just pointed out. You've got hundreds of thousands of users of Blaze.AI, so you gotta risk it for the biscuit, ladies and gentlemen. You got to try something. The most risky thing you can do is the same thing you've been doing. Now is the time to adjust. 2025.
I think that's right. And I think, yes, it can change everything, but I don't think it will, because not everybody will use a tool like this. And, there's people who are still using, like the antennas to get TV signal, 60 years after that technology came about. There's companies that still aren't on the cloud. There's still conferences about moving to the cloud 30 years after the cloud was created. So even with a disruptive technology like this that can change everything for your business, I think 90% of the people in the market won't even try it. And so if you're listening to this podcast, if you're interested, you're already ahead of the curve by a lot. And I think it's just jumping on, we have, a lot of users and we're growing really fast, but there's billions of people in the world that run a business, and most haven't even taken the step of, probably your listeners, of just tuning into this conversation. So I think just doing anything, as you mentioned, is so much more than everybody else. And the riskiest thing is to do nothing. I think, with so much change, so much potential that's available for you and your business right now.
Really important. You're just not going to be able to compete. You are not going to be able to compete. Like, let's say there's 100,000 jobs available now. Let's say you're a graphic designer. There's 100,000 jobs available now. By the end of the year, there might only be 10,000 jobs available, because the experts are using AI to reduce their cost and their time by 95, 98%. You're not going to be able to compete, boys and girls. So start using it. Test out Blaze.ai ASAP. I'm going to test it out too. I'm going to try it out. You sold me. It sounds awesome. It sounds like it solves a lot of the problems that we have within my organization. So I'm going to test it out. And you know what? I might even give you all a report on the pod.
Yeah. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, I'm going to. Adam, thanks for joining the show. Where's the best place for us to find you?
Yeah. Check out Blaze at Blaze.ai. We have a ton of free resources as well, even if you're not a customer. We have a community for lots of small business owners where people are trading tricks and tips on how to grow faster. A ton of free resources about how to use AI generally. So check out the tool, of course, but hopefully the website can also help you just grow faster. And you can also follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter. All the content you see there is actually generated by Blaze. I edit it myself, like we were talking about here. But if you want to see what Blaze can create, most of the content on our website and everything on our social media is generated by Blaze. So check us out online or at Blaze.ai.
That's super cool. You have Blaze write out a full quarter, and then you can spend an hour once a quarter and just like clean up. Done.
That's it.
Sick. So sick. All right, Adam, thanks for joining us. Everyone, make sure you check him out, show him some love, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks, man.